Welcome to NFL World. NFL starts and ends. I'm your host, Jacob. And to continue on with revealing the NFL schedule, we're going to do the AFC East and West today. We have the Bills we're going to start off with. They get a haymaker right out of the gate. They go and play a game at home against Baltimore. Sunday Night Football. That's a great job in the NFL. Week 1, make it special. Let's go. And that's what they did. Week 2, the Bills are on the road against the Jets. That's September 14th. Thursday night against the Dolphins. They're at home for that one. At home against the Saints on the 28th of September. Home for the Patriots October 5th. So three of the first four or four of the first five are at home. On the road against the Falcons on the 13th of October. They had their bye week. October 26th, back on the road against the Panthers. Home for the Chiefs on November 2nd. On the road against the Dolphins November 9th. Home for the Buccaneers on November 16th. On the road against the Texans on the Thursday night in Houston, I should say. On the road against the Steelers on the 30th of November. So actually that's when they get back from the Thursday nighter. Home for the Bengals on December 7th. On the road against the Patriots December 14th. Staying on the road against the Browns December 21st, my bad. They finish off the season 2 games at home. Home against the Eagles on the 28th of December. Home against the Jets. That one's to be determined whether it's the January 3rd or 4th. So, they start off 4 of the first 5 at home. They start off 2 of the last. So we got that. Hang on. Come on. Then let's jump to the Patriots. Patriots, first game at home, first the Raiders. And then on the road against the Miami Dolphins on the September 14th. Back at home against the Steelers. Home against the Panthers. So that's the entire month of September. 3 of the first 4 are at home. On the road against the Bills. That's an 8 o'clock game. On the road against New Orleans on the 12th of October. On the road against the Titans October 19th. So started off 3 of the first 4 at home. Now on a 3-game road trip. Circle that Patriots-Titans game. That's a revenge game for Mike Vrabel. Home for the Browns. And they're home for the Falcons. On the road against the Buccaneers on November 9th. Thursday nighter against the Jets. They're at home for that one. On the road against the Bengals. Then they are home for the Giants on December 1st. Then they have a bye week. That Giants and Patriots game is Monday night. Then they have a bye week. They go back at it on December 14th where they welcome the Bills come to town. They go on the road against the Ravens on the 21st of December. They stay on the road against the Jets on December 28th. And then they're home for the Dolphins either the 3rd or 4th of January. So it's a tough schedule down the stretch, and that bye week is very late. That could cause some problems for the Patriots, especially in the middle of the season where you guys start to get a little tired. So next, let's jump to the Jets. As we are talking about the Jets, let me grab it real quick. Here we go. First game, home for the Steelers. Then they're home for the Bills. Then they go on the road against the Buccaneers on the 21st of September. They stay in Florida to face the Dolphins on the 29th of September. That's a Monday nighter. Then they're at home against the Cowboys. That's always a weird game when the Jets and Cowboys play. They're in, I believe it's London, but I'm not 100% certain, against the Broncos. That's considered a home game for them, for the Jets. Back to East Rutherford they go to face the Panthers. On the road against the Bengals on October 26th. Back at home for the Browns on November 9th. On the road against the Patriots November 23rd, 13th, yes, November 13th. On the road against the Ravens November 23rd. November 30th, they're at home against the Falcons. At home against the Dolphins December 7th. On the road against Jacksonville December 14th. December 21st, they're on the road against the Saints. 28th of December, they're at home versus the Patriots. And then they're on the road against the Bills January 3rd or 4th. So let me make sure I get the bye week real quick here. Let's see. I believe it's the October 26th to their bye week is between the Bengals and Browns. Now let's jump to the Dolphins. So December 7th, they're on the road against the Colts. Home against the September 14th. September 7th is when they face the Colts. September 18th, they face the Bills on the road. That's a Thursday nighter. Home for the Jets on the 29th, which is a Monday nighter. On the road against the Panthers on October 5th. October 12th, they're at home against the Chargers. October 19th, they're on the road against the Browns. October 26th, on the road against Atlanta. October 30th, that's a Thursday nighter, against the Ravens. They're at home for that one. October 9th, they are home against the Bills. October 16th, they're at home against the Commanders. Then they hit their bye week. They come back November 30th and they get home against the Saints. December 7th, they're in New York against the Jets. They're on the road against the Steelers December 15th. Home for the Bengals on December 21st. Home for the Buccaneers December 28th. Before they go back on the road against the Patriots on January 3rd or 4th. So now let's jump to the Chiefs in the AFC West. First game, they are on the road against the Chargers in Sao Paulo, Brazil. That's the game that they're going to put on YouTube. I honestly think the NFL should do that. International games and games that are on Netflix or even Prime Video, put it on your Sunday ticket or put it on YouTube in general. That's what you should do. I think that's a smart idea. That is September 5th, so that's the Friday. Then they're at home against the Eagles, week 2. Week 3, September 21st, they're on the road against the Giants. Back at home for week 4 on the 28th of September against the Ravens. October 6th, they're on the road against Jacksonville. Back at home against the Lions, October 12th. October 19th, they're at home against the Raiders. October 27th, they are home against the Commanders. November 2nd, they're at the Bills. Then they hit their bye week. Then they're on the road against the Broncos November 16th. At home against the Colts November 23rd. November 27th, Thanksgiving, they're on the road against the Cowboys. Cowboys are not great at Thanksgiving, but also have a tough schedule leading up to it. You can take advantage of that. After Thanksgiving, December 7th, they face the Texans at home. Then the Chargers come to town on December 14th before the Chiefs go back on the road against the Titans on December 21st. Back at home for the Broncos on Christmas Day. And then on the road to finish off the year against the Raiders on January 3rd or 4th. Now let's jump to the Raiders' schedule. So let's start off the first game against the Patriots on September 7th. Then on a Monday night to start off the year, really, they faced the Raiders faced the Chargers in Las Vegas. Go back on the road, the Raiders do, against the Commanders on the 21st of September. Home for the Raiders are at home against the Bears, Then they're back on the road against the Colts. Home for the Titans. On the road against the Chiefs. Home for the Jaguars. Back on the road against the Broncos November 6th. Home for the Cowboys November 17th. So that's their bye week, November 6th to 17th. You can tell already they're just going home, away, or away, home, or home, away, home, away. That's what they're doing. Then that changes. November home for the Browns before they go back on the road against the Chargers. Home for the Broncos on December 7th. On the road against the Eagles December 14th. Staying on the road against the Texans December 21st. And the Giants-Raiders, that game on the 27th of December is to be determined. Same as when they finish off the season against the Chiefs at home on January 3rd or 4th. Those games are to be determined. Then let's jump to the Broncos. See if I can grab it. Okay, here we go. Home for the Titans. That's week 1. On the road against the Colts on September 14th. September 21st, they're on the road against the Chargers. Back at home for the Bengals on the 29th of September. That's the Monday nighter. On the road against the Eagles October 5th. On the road against the Jets October 12th. At home against the Giants October 19th. October 26th at home against the Cowboys. On the road against the Texans November 2nd. Thursday nighter against the Raiders on November 6th. Back at home against the Chiefs 10 days later. So they had their little bye week. Back on the road against the Commanders November 30th. On the road again against the Raiders on December 7th. Home for the Packers on the 14th of December. Home for the Jaguars on the 21st of December. On the road for Christmas Day against the Chiefs. And then they finish off the year at home against the Chargers on January 3rd or 4th. Last one. Let me grab it real quick. Here we go. Chargers. They start off the year in Sao Paulo, Brazil against the Chiefs. That's on the 5th. That's a Friday. Then they're on the road against the Raiders on September 15th. At home against the Broncos on the 21st of September. On the road against the Giants on the 28th of September. Home for the Commanders on October 5th. On the road against the Dolphins October 12th. Home for the Colts October 19th. Home for the Vikings October 23rd. That is a Thursday nighter. On the road against the Titans November 2nd. Home for the 9th against the Steelers. On the road against the Jaguars on November 19th. Their bye week. Back at home against the Raiders. Home for the Chargers December 8th. Home for the on the road against the Chiefs on December 14th. On the road against the Cowboys December 21st. Then they are home against the Texans December 27th. And on the road against the Broncos on January 3rd or 4th. So after doing all the schedules for the AFC East and West, let me know in the comments who you think is going to have the best record. Is it going to be the Bills? Is it going to be the Dolphins? Is it going to be the Patriots? Is it going to be the Jets? Is it going to be the Chiefs, the Raiders or the Broncos or even the Chargers? Let me know in the comment section. And while you're there, like, subscribe. It's absolutely free. And share the video. It's all free. And you get more NFL World content. For NFL World, I'm Jacob Hebert. Out.